Hey, we're Saints. Father Chris here, Deacon Greg with you. Welcome to our Crucifixion live stream. Glad to have you beautiful people with us. How you doing today?
I'm fantastic, but how are you doing? You just killed a huge bug.
Oh my gosh. They'll never see it, the people, but there's an alien that had landed and was in the floor, and it was gross.
It could be that an alien race was repopulating the population of those kinds of bugs and using our planet as a safe space for them. I have little kids. That's a thing on Lilo and Stitch. Anyway.
Lilo and Stitch. Yeah, I don't know that one.
It's good.
That was a gross bug. Can you talk about that stuff?
What, Lilo and Stitch or bugs?
No, alien, safe space, whatever.
Apparently we have free speech, so we're allowed to talk about anything we want.
Let's talk about free speech.
Let's talk about free speech.
I think it's a thing. All right, so in the world today, in the last couple of weeks, the things that we've been bombarded with, and I know people are struggling with it because it's a real question, a challenging question, and I don't know that we're through yet, the Charlie Kirk assassination, while giving a speech on a college campus in Utah, and that created a whole firestorm. And then more recently, the Jimmy Kimmel having his show pulled off the air, or at least temporarily suspended. I don't even know where it's at this point, right? So hopefully we didn't get that wrong, but we use that simply not to talk even about the Charlie Kirk incident or the Jimmy Kimmel incident in and of themselves, as that we're making statements about them. We're using them as intro. So crazy mob, remember that we're using them as intro to talk about something more important, right? And that's the idea of free speech, and that not being talked about for the sense of a political approach to free speech, but for you, free speech, gosh, I'm losing my words, but for you and I as Christians, in the ability that we have in this country to freely speak about the gospel, right?
Right.
And the funny thing about that is that the gospel is a corrective, right? Like, the gospel doesn't begin by saying you're so nice and we love you and you're great. It begins by telling you you're wrong. And so if its design is to ruffle feathers,
yeah,
then going back to the Charlie Kirk thing and the Jimmy Kimmel thing, which, ruffled feathers on one side of the world and the other, then if those are getting, coming under fire, you better believe that the gospel of Jesus Christ is going to come under fire.
Without question. I actually just went and looked up the First Amendment.
Okay.
And to read what it actually says.
Yeah, love it.
And it says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. I feel like it's all wrapped up together.
Yeah.
This idea of freedom of speech, freedom of religion, whatever we want to call them, they're all together. Freedom of the press. And what seems to be happening is everyone is in favor of this idea, is in favor of free speech, as long as it's speech that they agree with. And I think that the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the Jimmy Kimmel stuff, like him being pulled off the air, all of it is just an expression of, if I don't like what you're saying, I'm going to do something about it because I don't agree with you. And somehow I'm the one that has to be the determining factor of what agrees with you or what doesn't. I'm somehow the one who is the summa of all things. And I am the pinnacle. It's narcissism. I am the pinnacle. So I get to determine what free speech looks like and what speech is allowed.
Right.
But the inherent idea of free speech is that you have to tolerate everybody's free speech.
Yeah.
You have to recognize everybody's freedom. So as a religion, as a church, like, we have to be able to say what we say about certain topics without fear of retribution.
Yeah.
As a human being, we should be able to be doing those things.
We should be able to. Yeah. So, yes, the idea of free speech really, and here's the kicker. It's not about allowing people the freedom to say things that you like.
Yeah.
The challenge of it is the is the willingness to let people say things you don't like and to hear awful things, right? That's the whole point of free speech. I mean, and I know, again, the crazy mob is about, oh, you can't say that.
Right.
So let's break it apart. You read the First Amendment. As I see it, there are 3 parts to the First Amendment.
Yeah.
The first part is no law restricting establishment of religion or its free speech. So that's 1. Part 2 is abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. So the ability of people, not religious necessarily, but in the press and in the public sphere to speak freely. And then the third part is the people to assemble and, petition the government for a problem. Like, in other words, hey, you guys did this. We want to we want to have a march and say this is unjust or whatever. So religion and its free speech, press and its free speech, or the way it was written, free speech and the press, and then the people to assemble and, have a
protest.
A protest. Thank you. I was going to say,
gathering.
Peaceful gathering. All right. So like with that in as the backdrop, what happened as we see it, and we've been discussing this a lot with our team as well, like in the Charlie, you can see that in a nation that's so polarized and so divided, and everybody falls on one side of the aisle or the other, and they label themselves as such, right? I label myself as a warrior saint, as a Christian man. I don't label myself as a Republican or a Democrat or a progressive or a conservative, but that's where people label themselves.
Yeah.
And in both of those incidents that we brought up, the Charlie Kirk murder and the Jimmy Kimmel canceling, both sides of the aisle are now confronted with the willingness to let other people speak freely. Right?
Yeah. And what comes along with that? You said something that triggered this thought. Because we label ourselves with that, it becomes our identity.
Yeah.
And then anything that speaks out against our label, we then internalize as a speaking out against our identity. And then when we're confronted with what you just said, we don't know what to do. Because then it comes back to the question of who am I? Like, if this is how I am defining myself, it comes back to the Jean Valjean syndrome.
Darn it.
And we don't know who we are. We don't know what we're doing. We struggle to figure out, really, like, who am I?
Yeah.
How can I ever face my fellow man? How can I ever face myself again?
You said it. I was trying so hard not to laugh, and then you stole it. 24601. All right. Yeah, but all of the musical joking aside, it's a big deal. Like, let's break it down further. When, God rest his soul, Charlie Kirk was assassinated, there became a conversation in the public sphere that was a debate, right? We talked about this before. There was an actual debate over whether it's permissible and justifiable to murder someone who speaks words that you disagree with. Like, I'm a very hard man. I have a very thick skin. Things do not faze me. I lost my mind when I heard that because it didn't compute, Deacon Greg. How can that be a conversation, right? Like, have we gone so freaking mad? Yes. But so mad that that's not self-evident that you just don't kill people?
Yeah.
I mean, that was insane to me. And I don't want to get too far off onto that. And then there's that stupid garbage. Well, the words hurt people. Okay. That's lame. Words never killed anybody. But look, if you are that soft that someone's speech harms you or causes you stress, you need to come to visit us and spend more time with us because you need to be fixed because that's not healthy. That's not a good way to live your life. Anyways, that's another conversation. And the stupid mob is going to come after me for those words. Let them, whatever.
The Jerky Boys were prophetic.
I mean, it's funny you say that. I was thinking about that. Remember that whole sketch on work? I was heard at work.
I was heard at work today.
Yeah.
He said nasty things.
Yeah.
And I fell down the stairs.
I mean, but like, they were prophetic. That was in 1942, the Gypsy Boys. I mean, that was
95.
It was, but it was so long ago. But they knew or they just were making. But I mean, like, that was a joke, and now it's real.
Exactly. It's not that they knew we would get there. It was that they were making fun of the fact that the people that were already there were so ridiculous.
And it's today.
Cute, like
now.
30 years later.
I know.
And we're there. Words hurt. And then we start labeling things as hate speech. That scares me.
Yeah.
Because who's the determiner of what is hate speech?
Yeah. Well, 1984. We'll talk about that too. But just to wrap all of that up, I mean, you know, words do hurt. I've said hurtful things, and I've had hurtful things said to me that don't feel good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you can't stop it. You know, and more importantly for us as warrior saints, our position is that you can't control all that. You can only control yourself. So that's why I was saying earlier about come spend time with us. Let's learn how to man up and woman up so that we know how to overcome when people say hurtful things to us, not like eliminate people who say hurtful things. The other part of that, so to finish off the Charlie Kirk, he said things that people didn't like. And so the question was, can we kill him for that?
Well, I think what it's all pointing to is that we don't like doing things that make us uncomfortable. And free speech makes us confront
Uncomfortable
things that are extremely uncomfortable. Other people being able to say things that we might not like means that we might get uncomfortable, which then means we might have to have a conversation with them.
Right.
We might have to talk about something that is uncomfortable, and we might have to have a difficult chat.
Yeah.
Where we might say, hey, like, I didn't appreciate what you said. Not, I was hurt at work today, but
Right.
like, I was uncomfortable with what you said. The ridiculousness of that Jerky Boy sketch, by the way, is that he was calling a lawyer for personal injury, saying that he was hurt at work because of words.
Yeah.
You can actually do that today.
I know.
You can actually call a lawyer and say that you were hurt at work because of words and win.
I know.
Instead of just going up to someone and saying, like, we do this all the time. Hey, I didn't appreciate what you said.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sorry that I said that. What I really meant was this. And we talk about it. And the more we talk about it, the more comfortable we are having those conversations.
Yeah.
And the more comfortable we are having those conversations, then we're actually able to have those conversations. Yeah. And then we're not just deciding I'm going to pull you off the air, or I'm going to cancel you by killing you. Like,
I know that wasn't part of our plan script today, but like, this is a valuable point. And it's not to toot our own horns, but we have worked together now for almost 15 years. And 99.9% of our interaction is not good. It's great. And most of the time we laugh and we giggle. But sometimes I'm a jerk to you, and sometimes you're a jerk to me. And 0 times of that being jerk to one another in the last nearly 15 years have we let it go very far.
Yeah.
We actually say, Deacon Greg, you pissed me off. And you say, Father Chris, you pissed me off. And we apologize and own it when we need to. We explain, oh, I'm sorry you misunderstood. Here's what I meant. Or I'm sorry I was wrong. Like, it's not that hard. It's uncomfortable, but it's not that hard. And I found, and I don't know what you think about this, the more we do it, now we're really good at it. Like our spats are resolved very quickly now, I think.
I think so.
I feel good about it. You know, anyways.
We get through it quick because we've done it.
Yeah.
And we're willing to do it.
Right.
And we're willing to put in the effort. Neither of us is trying to justify themselves. Neither of us is trying to say, like, actually, no, you're wrong for thinking that I was wrong, because we're not worried about this idea. We're willing to say, like, you know what? I'm so sorry. I did not know that it came across that way.
Right.
Or that that is not what I intended at all.
Yeah.
By comparison, we see this played out in scripture all over the place. We see this, like, rubber actually meet the road in the Gospel of Luke, in the story of the Good Samaritan.
What road was it?
It was
The road to
Jericho. I was going to say the road to Emmaus, but that's a different road. That's a different thing.
Same gospel.
Same gospel.
Different
people. I'm going to read Luke 10 for a minute now. See, we laugh a lot. Behold, a lawyer stood up to put him to the test. So a lawyer comes to Jesus and wants to put him to the test.
Were you?
And he says, you were at work today. Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? And Christ says, what is written in the law? How do you read? He puts it back on the guy.
Yeah.
And the guy, I mean, he's a lawyer. He's supposed to know the law.
Right.
And he answers, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And Christ says back to him, you have answered right. Do this and you will live. So the guy says, what do I need to do? Jesus says, how do you read? And the guy says, this is how I read. And Jesus says, you have chosen wisely. And then the guy says, and then he says, go do this and you'll live. And the guy doesn't like it. And he says, desiring to justify himself, who is my neighbor? And then we have the story of the Good Samaritan. It's playing out this idea that your neighbor is not always the person that you want to be with, right? Because, I mean, we all know the story. There's a guy, he gets beat up on the Robbers Road on the way to Jericho, Robbers Pass, and he is laying there, beaten up, needing some help. And a priest and a Levite, people who know the law, people who know that they're supposed to love the Lord with all their heart, soul, and mind, and their neighbor as themselves. They know it, are unwilling to do it because that man is not seen by them as their neighbor. That man is other. That man does not identify himself the same way that they identify themselves. And where the rubber meets the road, they pass by on the other side. And then a Samaritan, who is definitely not the one who's supposed to do it, who is definitely the other,
right,
who is definitely outside of their community, he's the one who actually shows the man mercy. He's the one who actually goes to the man, takes care of him, cleans him up, takes him to an inn, gives the guy money and says, if you need more, I'll pay you more when I come back. And he actually is the one who does the business. He is outside of the law, but he follows the law.
Right.
And Christ puts it back to the lawyer and says, which of these three do you think provided neighbor to the man who fell among the robbers? And the guy says, the one who showed mercy. And now Jesus says, again, go and do like that. But we don't want to.
No.
We don't want to. We don't want to go and do likewise to the people who we don't agree with, to the people who say things that we don't like. We want to say that their words hurt us. We want to accuse them of bullying. And there is bullying, fine. But what we often accuse people of as bullying, like I say to my 5-year-old all the time, so what?
Yeah.
They said something. You didn't like it. They said something that wasn't true. Does that somehow make it true? Your brother said that that toy is his. Is it his? Well, no. Well, then why do you care that he said it? It's not his. It doesn't change possession.
Right.
Is might be 9/10 of the law, but it is not in my house.
Yeah.
Right? Like it does not all of a sudden mean that it's his just because he said it.
Right.
But if we don't teach that to our 5-year-old, then they're never going to get the point. They're always going to want to justify it.
Right. Absolutely. You said it right there. And that's the key thing about that verse. I just was looking at it just to make sure. When it says the lawyer to justify himself, it's dikeos. It's to make himself righteous, right? So I verified it because sometimes the translations, don't always hit it accurately. But I mean, it was, so this is a statement in Luke where he's trying to show who's righteous. So it's the Jew-Gentile battle that St. Paul was fighting, and Luke, plays it out in narrative form. And he's like, righteousness is not just to say I'm one who abides by the law, but who does the business. And in this case, the business is to love the other person. And that means sometimes when the other person is, in some sense an enemy. I mean, that's the whole point. And you said it, the Samaritan. So, geographically, the road from Jerusalem to Jericho was often known. I actually learned this from a sermon I read from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that it was known as the Bloody Pass. And so whatever King found in his research was that road down to Jericho was often, traversed by robbers and people would be beaten up and so on. But more important is that it's in the southern part of the kingdom of Judah. Samaria was up above. And so they were not only enemies, the Samaritans and the Judahites, but no Samaritan would have even been on that road because it's in the southern kingdom and, also known, very dangerous road. to take. So what Luke is doing there is saying that like this is an impossible situation, and yet he thumps the people who are listening to the message because, you know, like it's an impossible situation, and yet he's the one who's the enemy, and he did the business, right? And so that's a powerful message for you and I today in light of this whole free speech and, you know, animosity and hatred of left and right and you know, all the boxing that we put ourselves in, you know, by putting ourselves in different boxes. I mean, the gospel message, forget the world, screw the world. I don't care what the world's message is. I'm not interested in that message, and people who are, great, let them do it. But for those who are seeking to live a different kind of life, to be warrior saints, the gospel is calling you out, man. It's putting it right in your face, in spite of what they think and how they feel and their hateful words. You must love them.
I mean, think about the fact that Christ just said to the lawyer, go and do likewise. Go and do what the Samaritan did.
Right?
You who can't stand Samaritans, go do what the Samaritan did. Go act like a Samaritan.
Right.
I mean, that's insanity. Let's put it in our modern language. Could you imagine telling a Republican go do what a Democrat did, or a Democrat go do what the Republicans do?
Yeah.
That people would lose their mind.
Yeah.
Because we've lost that we just need to follow God's commandments. We've lost that we're just called to follow his word. And we can talk about it through the lens of free speech easily because it's right there in front of us, being played out everywhere on our social media feeds, on our news broadcasts, on our special edition online live streams that go out, where we default to these partisan politics and we politicize topics that are supposed to be protections for us that are taking us out of that political sphere.
Yeah. Look, Deacon Greg, you just said it. I mean, we've boxed ourselves or aligned ourselves or identified, is the word used, as, you know, left or right. I'm saying here, all right, let's shift that identity a little bit. You can do that. I mean, be a Republican, be a Democrat or an independent or whatever other party and vote how you want. Fine. But maybe, I don't know, this is a novel idea. Identify yourself not with the political party that you think, but identify yourself as a warrior saint, as a Christian man or woman. And when you identify yourself as that, your reference for the way you live and act becomes no longer your party affiliation, but the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it's calling you to a very different standard. It's calling you to level up, right? Look, do you have 2 Timothy in there? Did we put that in? Listen to this. This is how Jesus Christ, and in this case, the Apostle Paul, is telling you to function and live your life. In 2 Timothy chapter 2, and the Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but kind to everyone. That includes you, people you like and people you don't. That means everyone. You're able to teach, patiently enduring evil, correcting his opponents with gentleness. God may perhaps grant them repentance, leading to a knowledge of the truth, and they may come to their senses and escape from the snare of the devil after being captured by him to do his will. Right? Like, that's a very different way to look at things. It's saying, bil-arabi magluba, right? Like we say in Arabic, upside down. I mean, the world is saying, go fight, attack, win. What Paul is saying is love. Be kind, be gentle. And if you do that, because we as Christians think what we're preaching is truth, if you do that kindly, God may sprinkle a little bit of grace in their hearts, and they may open their eyes to it and come to the truth. They may not, but they may. But if you go to them, I think what Paul is really leading to, like if you go to them as a jerk, trying to win this fight and to be right and crush your opponent, which is what's happening, then they're going to the wall just gets built up harder and stronger, and they're not going to listen. There's no hope, of softening the heart. But if you go to them with love, I mean, it's so simple, it's so clear, but yet.
Well, because you start looking at them not as an opponent.
They're humans, right.
You look at them as a person.
Yeah.
You look at them as someone that you can actually engage in a conversation with. You look at them as someone that you might be on different places.
Absolutely. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but think about what the mayor of Los Angeles did.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent. The president of the United States said, lower your flags to half-mast, and she wouldn't do it. And I thought about it. It's because she chose politics over humanity.
Yeah.
Whether she liked Charlie Kirk or not, a human being was killed. The president asked her to do something, and she's like, no, screw it, because he's in a different party. I'm not going to do. Like, it's to your point. Anyways, that one bummed me out. That broke my heart.
Yeah. They asked for a moment of silence.
Yeah.
In Congress, and people were yelling no.
Yeah.
I mean, have we really gotten to this point? And that has nothing to do with what I think about Charlie Kirk or not, or whatever.
Right.
I don't agree with everything he said.
Yeah, no way.
I don't have to agree with everything he said to recognize that something terrible happened to him.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've had moments of silence for people that I did not like.
Yeah.
I didn't shout no. I didn't scream and yell and any of this. It's not to say, look at me, look at how great I am. It's to say, like, we need to recognize, and as a church, we recognize that humanity has value.
Yes.
And in recognizing that, part of being a warrior saint means that in recognizing that humanity has value, we rise above that political BS, and we actually are able to say, someone died. Let's take a moment.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's so as we maybe let's just shift as we head towards, wending our way home. I mean, the bottom line, I think, is that, it's okay to disagree with people. It's okay to have differing thoughts. I mean, that makes it fun. Could you imagine if everybody thought the same way? It would be boring. But we can respect that. And look, sometimes people think and say awful things. But if we want to be permitted to say our things, we have to permit them to say their things. And sometimes, look, I get it. We're public figures out there, man. We know. Sometimes people say awful things just for the sake of being jerks, right? I mean, you can go back through all of our content and you find comments where people have just said awful things. And it's like, dude, we didn't even say the things that you're like. So it is what it is. All right. But if I'm willing to put myself out there publicly, then I need to be able to let other people put their stuff out there willingly, even if it's silly and snarky and not true. And then, you just deal with it. So so I don't want to get too off. If that's the case, and we are called, as you brought us through the whole thing of the Good Samaritan, is to say we've got to be willing to do things, even if that, good things, right things, to speak, as Paul said in 2 Timothy, with gentleness, with love, with respect, to people who might be identified as an enemy or at least on the other side. How do we do that? What are some practicals, that you and I can share with our people to, give them an example, a way through?
I think you have to know it's coming.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's clear that it's going to be coming. Christ gives us that heads up in the Beatitudes. I mean, he says it very clearly. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when men revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad. Your reward is great in heaven. For so men persecuted the prophets who were before you. I think the way that I see what's going on in that, one of the things we need to do is we need to be deciding. We need to decide, are we going to stand up? What does that standing up looks like? It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to go stand on a college campus with a Bible in one hand, a sign repent in the other, and shout from the rooftops.
Right.
This is what you need to do. You're all going,
Yeah, we're not Westboro Baptist.
Right.
Yeah.
But what we can do is provide a witness for our faith, even as simple as, like, I joke all the time, probably even said it recently, that when I went to graduate school, I didn't know, was it cool to say I went to seminary? Was it not okay to say I went to seminary? Like, what are you going to do? So, like, people are like, oh, do you have your master's? Yeah, I have my master's. Where'd you get your master's? Oh, I lived in New York. I went to school in New York. Oh, where'd you go to school? It was a small school outside of the city in Yonkers. You've probably never heard of it. Like, just say I went to seminary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I go pick up my kids at their schools. I have my collar on. It doesn't mean that I'm preaching. It just means, like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
This is what's going on. This is what we're doing. And sometimes I pick them up and I don't have my collar on.
Right.
But I'm still in those moments living my life in a way that still preaches the gospel. Right. I'm trying to live my life in a way that is witnessing to my faith.
Yeah.
And one of the big things that I have to do is ask myself, is this the action of a warrior saint?
Yeah.
What would Jesus do?
Yeah.
I mean, like, all kidding aside, I don't interpret what would Jesus do as what would his actual actions be. But what are my actions going to be in this specific situation that I'm in that will demonstrate crucifixional living, that are actually living out that call?
That reminds me, the epistle we just read yesterday, Sunday in the church. It's from St. Paul's epistle to the Galatians. And the Orthodox, we read that hopefully throughout the world, Galatians 2. And he gets it at verse 20 that I have been crucified with Christ. It's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me.
Yeah.
And, that doesn't mean that St. Paul was crucified and died on the cross. I mean, obviously, he was writing this epistle. So he wasn't dead on the cross, dictating it to his scribe. I mean, he's saying I think very clearly that I have made the decision in my life that the old sinful, hateful way of me, St. Paul, I am ceasing that. I am putting it to death. And my old wickedness and wretchedness, I'm not going to function like that anymore. I am now going to function in a Christ-like crucifixional manner where I will sacrifice myself for the sake of other, right?
Yeah.
Which goes to what you were saying earlier, like again, goes back to the Good Samaritan. I mean, it's like constantly looking out for the need of other, constantly looking to, put the other ahead of yourself.
Yes.
Even when they're a jerk.
And that also means that sometimes you have to approach things not taking everything that the other says so seriously.
Yeah.
That means sometimes putting the other ahead of myself means I recognize where they might be coming from.
Yeah.
And so I'm willing to talk it out with them rather than just get bristled by every single thing that's said. You looked up from Ecclesiastes earlier. I'm going to throw it out there. Do not take to heart all the things that people say, lest you hear your servant cursing you. Your heart knows that many times you yourself have cursed others.
Yeah.
This is the hardest thing for me to do.
Yeah. Why?
Because I want to internalize everything that people say. I did Strength's Quest one day.
You did what?
Strength's Quest, one of those things.
Okay.
And I am a woo. And a woo means that I want to win others over, which means that I want to value others' opinions of me, which means that anytime someone says something, I'm going to take it to heart.
Yeah.
What I have to do is work through the fact that they're not doing something that is an attack on me personally. There's something going on within them, and I need to overcome that, which means that I have to be crucifixional and that I have to get through my own junk, my own baggage, so that I can recognize that people are saying things from their own junk, their own baggage, and my job is to help them through theirs, not be hurt by what they said.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I was hurt at work today. And I'm constantly sad about things that I internalize and think that other people did to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. I found something helpful too. And this is kind of an insult to the majority of people. And I don't necessarily mean to say it in an insulting way, but as much as a please wake up way. Most people react and respond based on what they're programmed to think and respond based on what they see on their social media feed, which is governed by the algorithms that gives them the stuff that aligns with what they identify with, left or right or whatever, right? And so, like, I find most of the time it's that a lot of that kind of hateful stuff is not thoughtful in the sense that it's not well thought, there is, look, I mean, and you can determine this from just going to Reddit and going to any feed and looking at the comments. What you see there, I mean, that's a crazy place, right? Yeah. What you see there is people have such a need to, like you were saying, to have others think well of them, that they make comments that are not thoughtful and maybe not even what they necessarily believe in order to get, all of the thumbs up and the, like-minded comments giving them praise. Whereas they know that if they said what they really thought or what was really true, they might get backlash from it.
Yeah.
And they don't want that, or are not brave enough to, or don't have the stones to deal with that. So they say what is going to be well received by the other members of the mob. And then all of a sudden, the sad part of that whole thing is that the mob is saying things that very few in the mob actually think.
Yeah.
Anyways.
It's auto response. It's an email auto response. Someone says this, I am programmed to respond with this.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I've thought through it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I agree with what's being said. It's purely auto response.
Yeah.
It's very robotic. It's very like MailChimp. We use MailChimp at the church. MailChimp has automation that you can add in where you put in the keywords, and based on what those keywords are, it will send a certain response. That's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We're all on this automation, on autopilot, where we've identified with a certain group.
Yeah.
We now have a community that we've found within that certain group. And so in order to stay within that certain group, we auto-respond the answers that have to go based on keywords that we hear from someone else, usually not from within that group, so that we can then respond, regurgitate, rinse and repeat.
Yeah. We've got to fight through that stuff. I mean, that's like,
got to fight through
you and
it.
I did tons of work. Oh, we call it our 6-part battle plan, right? I mean, and the first, which is about being a warrior saint. Once you understand the Bible, and now how do you live it? And this plan starts with the mind, and it's to free yourself from those shackles, to be able to think for yourself. And you know what? I don't really care what any person thinks, provided that it's what they think, not what they're programmed to think.
Exactly.
Like, I don't always have to agree with what everybody thinks, nor they with me. And even sometimes people think awful things. I mean, you've heard it. I've heard it. I mean, we've probably done. I mean, that's what you said in that Ecclesiastes quote, right? I mean, like, don't let it get to you because you hear your servant curse you. Your heart knows that many times you have cursed others, right? Like, sometimes we think awful, right? I mean, so we can own that. But it does, anyways, we've beaten the horse dead.
Yeah. But the problem is, when you do that, you might have to have a conversation. And we're uncomfortable having those conversations.
Right.
We've lost the ability to have those conversations.
Right.
As warrior saints, our job is to reclaim conversation.
Yeah.
Is to reclaim the ability to relearn how to have those conversations and get out there and teach others by doing it.
Yeah.
Not teaching them by beating them over the head with scripture and telling them this is how you're going to have conversations now, but teaching them by showing them what actual conversation looks like, rather than just simply fighting because we heard something that we have an auto response.
Yeah, great. I love that line you just came up with, reclaim conversation.
Yeah.
That's a great practical, is to just, I mean, and it's a hard thing, but it's a simple thing, but it goes back to what you brought up earlier. You just have to be brave enough to confront with love the person who offended you or whom you offended.
Yeah.
And say, look, let's just sit down and talk about this and figure out a way through. Look, anyone who's married or in a relationship with a romantic relationship with their partner knows that there are moments where you have to have those conversations. And how many times do people just have the inability or unwillingness to have those conversations, and we end up in divorce? Like, I mean, and what I found to be so fascinating about it is that my wife and I think I don't fight very often. You and I don't fight very often. I don't fight with people very often, but boy, when I do, I have that like heaviness in my heart. But once I go and talk to them, or they come to me and are braver than I and talk to me, and we get through it, how light do I feel? Yeah. I mean, I to answer the question, I feel great because you've resolved it. I mean, we want somewhere, we desire, here's a weird thought, but we desire conflict because we know that it's the route that we have to go through to get to healing, which we desire more.
Yeah.
And that healing is such a great feeling.
Huge. huge feeling. I will I appreciate the credit for the Reclaiming Conversation. It's not mine. It's Sherry Turkle from a book called Reclaiming Conversation, The Power of Talk in the Digital Age.
That's great. I need to read that.
Yeah.
Send it.
It's good. And anyway.
Well, thanks for that. But you said it to me. So as far as I'm concerned, you were the originator of that. Sorry, Ms. Turkle.
To your last point, G.K. Chesterton has this quote out there that angels fly because they don't carry all this junk with them. Or however he said it, that was actually nice. That's the reality.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of all of that stuff by having those conversations so that we feel lighter, so that we're not carrying the heaviness that everyone is carrying all of the time.
Yeah.
And we can actually move through it all.
So if my crazy theory of we like conflict so that we can get to healing is in any way, shape, or form true, the struggle that we've got in the world is that we've recognized that subconsciously, but we've gone only as far as getting into the conflict. We haven't gone as far as getting through it. So maybe that's the call of the gospel to all of the warrior saints and everyone out there in the world is like, all right, good job. You got to conflict. Now fight through it and get to healing.
Amen.
I love it. This was good stuff.
Great.
And a lot of good ideas that have come out of this. Ultimately the bottom line, and I'll wrap us up with this, Deacon, if you're good with it, is like, in the chaos that is the world out there, I mean, people have got to, for the sake of health, mental, physical, spiritual health, is to get through and find that healing. And the great agent of healing is God himself. He's the only one. And in order to do that, we have to read his word. We got to read the book, man, read the Bible. And the Bible is often, it's funny to me how many people don't. And I would encourage all of them, look, read it. Here's the thing. When they do, some people find that it's uncomfortable or they don't understand it and they get lost. And I don't understand what that means. And so they turn to some of our competition, if you will, these online gurus are out there, and even from within our own faith, who are saying crazy stuff. And they're like, well, that's nuts. And so they get more frustrated with it. I would hope that they would go visit our website and get the Understanding the Bible series, because one thing that we do, it's really the only thing that we do, is to teach scripture in clear, understandable, and actionable ways so that we can understand what God is saying and then go live it in our lives. I have seen, and I'm thankful in my own life, God has been gooder to me than I deserve. But when I do these things, it's good for life. We've also seen in the lives of so many of our warrior saints that when they actually follow Understanding the Bible, like every morning, they wake up and read a chapter, and then they watch the teaching that goes with it to help them understand it and put it into action, things change for the good. And they're starting to live good lives. Anyway, so I would encourage all of our audience to visit warriorsaints.org and subscribe to Understand the Bible. I mean, it's just constantly growing. Anyways, that's the shtick. Love you, beautiful people. We'll be back on Sunday with Orthros and Liturgy at 9 and 10 a.m. respectively, and next week to continue our live stream. Love you. Have a great weekend. As always, keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.